Even better luck. It was a dry winter so far. There wasn't a lot of the gray, nasty slush that would come later. It was about the best weather you could possibly get as a bike courier in winter. Sonia cruised back to the office and pulled around the back to ease her bike into the rack and spotted. "Huh, that's weird," she thought. A small figure was on the back stoop. A woman, by the looks of it. She was on tiptoe, the oversized, floppy sleeve of her sweatshirt smooshed against the glass as she tried to peer in. She leaned to the left and right, apparently trying to get a good look into the building. Sonia didn't like it, though the woman wasn't intimidating. Sonia could probably have picked her up by the scruff of the neck. She rolled up to the dark-haired woman and cleared her throat. "Can I help you?" She whipped around, wide-eyed, and tried to bolt, but her oversized sleeve had caught on the door handle and yanked her back. She fell to the ground, pulling at it frantically a few times before climbing to her feet and recovering herself.
"Oh, I'm sorry. You startled me."
"Apparently," Sonia thought, rolling her eyes. She remained silent. In situations like this, it was best to let the stranger talk. They might tell you more than they meant to. She looked the girl in the eye and kept her face impassive.
"So you probably wonder what I'm doing here."
She laughed nervously. Sonia remained silent.
"I'm here looking for Davy. He said to come back in 3 days, but I thought maybe I'd find him here now." "Oh, I'm with Verity. The phones."
Sonia narrowed her eyes. Davy wasn't in any position to be telling anyone to come back in 3 days. Davy himself hadn't been here for a couple of days.
"Well, I guess I'll just be going."
Sonia finally spoke, positioning herself between the girl and the walk.
"Davy's not here and hasn't been for days. Want to try again?"
The girl knew Davy's name, that was plain enough. Sonia had been clued in by Fitz and the others as to what had been going on. Alex, the smarmy Verity rep, had also been sincere just long enough to warn them to be careful of anything out of the ordinary. She knew Davy had run into some serious trouble, but this little bitty slip of a girl seemed like another story entirely. Sonia was stalking her like a lioness after a rabbit. Sonia was not happy. The girl's eyes went wide.
"That's impossible. I talked to him the other day. He gave me his phone number."
She was a good liar, or would be if she had her facts straight. The poker face was on point.
"I'll bet 1,000 you don't know what Davy even looks like,"
Sonia said pointedly.
"Well, duh. He's tall and handsome and wears those expensive sunglasses. I talked to him the other day. Ask him."
The girl glared sidelong at Sonia, looking shifty but indignant. Better clear this up now. Sonia grabbed her by the arm.
"Hey, let go!"
"You're coming with me.
"We're going to meet your Davy and see what he has to say."
Alex rather enjoyed hanging out at Davy's offices. It was a mess, but it was a friendly mess. And the people wandering in and out, Rex, Fitz, Sonia, and the big Drachen, Gordon, all seemed like very nice people. He liked his coworkers well enough, but they were all business, and he never really saw them. Being on the road all the time, his offices were out of his hotel rooms, and he didn't really enjoy the same sort of company Davy did. He was mildly jealous. Davy's daughter, Rinn, waiting on her mother's and father's return, was keeping him company. She was actually a delightful woman, if a bit odd-looking. Human Drachen hybrids were something you didn't see every day, and he was objectively fascinated by her. She and the big, friendly, ginger-bearded assistant, Fitz, got along well and were kind enough to take the time to make sure Alex didn't feel shoved off into a corner and forgotten. Alex felt a bit like he was intruding on Davy's home, especially since the poor guy wasn't here. More especially because he was getting chased around some heatwave-prone sandbar by some corporate flunkies with nothing better to do. Had Alex been fully aware of Davy's plight, he wouldn't have been sitting in Davy's living room sipping coffee. Suddenly, there was a commotion, and Alex rose. Sonia, the tall, dark girl with braids, one of Davy's couriers, was dragging in a familiar face. It was the little dark-eyed girl from before.
"See? There he is! I told you I knew Davy!"
She yanked her arm away from Sonia. "Except I'm not Davy," grinned Alex, with the air of a stage magician performing a trick. The girl's mouth dropped.
"You said you were!"
"Never did." He gave her a conceited, self-satisfied look. "You said it. I just never corrected you."
"That's not fair!"
She stomped her foot.
You can't do that!
And yet I have. He looked at her smugly over his aviators.
You liar!
She shoved her fists behind her, leaning forward and yelling at him on tiptoe. Sonia was amused enough to be smiling. Speaking of liars, he rounded on her pointedly, immediately serious, I seem to recall you telling me you were with Verity Corp, a recollection backed up by the fact you're still wearing the sweatshirt you had on yesterday. Thing is, we don't have company sweatshirts at Verity. I know because I work there. So would you care to tell us, again, just exactly what you're doing here? She sighed and flounced back, crossing her arms.
Oh, all right, you caught me.
She stuck out a sleeve-covered hand.
Vivica, I work for your competition. You understand if I don't mention company names.
She said it glibly, but she looked nervous. You'll have to when the cops show up, girlie, glowered Rex. She looked over her shoulder at him, innocently.
Cops? Whatever for?
For stealing. You was trying to break in,
Rex accused. She fixed him with an even gaze.
Now see, that's your word against mine. You didn't catch me breaking in. You caught me looking in your shop window. There's no law against that. Next thing I know, this lady's dragging me inside. Well, how's that illegal?
She had them there.
Don't worry,
She assured them.
I won't be back. You know who I am now. What am I going to do, put on a fake mustache? You guys probably aren't that stupid.
She stood up.
Well, it's been nice, but I'm going to dash. No hard feelings. I'm just doing what I was told to, and I don't particularly like it either. Girls gotta eat, though.
She muttered. Sonia did notice the dark marks under the girl's eyes weren't entirely cosmetic. She looked hungry.
So, toodaloo, everyone. Say,
She thought.
which one of you is Davy? It's you, isn't it?
She pointed at Fitz. Alex was finally too clever for his own good. That's your dear friend Donovan, he smirked. Davy's currently on a little tropical vacation.
Still? He's out there? Oh, that's bad news. You need to call him.
She'd gone wide-eyed.
You need to call him now. Victor's out there.
She shuddered. We already took care of your other office, flunky. Alex smirked easily. I got a call from Davy. He was at the Port Authority office. He caught the guy trying to break into the tower, and the minute his back was turned, our little buddy snatched up the equipment and squirreled it in the safe at the PA's office. He crossed his arms, self-satisfied. Her face blanched.
Oh, is he stupid? Victor will kill him.
Everyone began looking uneasy and alarmed, except for Alex, still smirking. Yeah, what's he gonna do? Staple him to death? She gave him a frank, pitying look.
You really don't know anything, do you? I'm an office flunky. Or I was until my ex got me hooked. Flunky to junkie.
She shook her head bitterly.
I cleaned myself up pretty quick and hightailed it. But I couldn't get off that easy, could I? I started getting phone calls. So I had my job back. On paper, anyway. As long as I play along, I make enough not to starve to death. And they don't call every single place I might ever find a job and tell them not to hire a drug addict who steals things to feed her habit. Or worse. I'm sure they've got some nasty version of the story to account for any scrounge-around jobs I might find. And if I get too uppity, there's people like Victor.
She frowned and looked resentful and frightened.
He's a different story entirely,
She declared firmly.
He's Francis's buddy. That's the ex, Francis. Victor is bad news, and your boss doesn't want any part of him.
She stood up and continued.
Call him on that phone of his and tell him to get off that island, and don't go back.
And with that, she spun and shot out the door.
Wait! Damn it!
Alex swore. Everyone in the room was upset and in a panic. Fitz had rushed to the telephone and dialed the number to the Port Authority,